Quiet now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind. You're going to dance until your feet fall off. You're not able to stand up any longer. But we're going to have a show.
Welcome to the Pink Door Podcast. Imagine you wake up, you check your local housing market, and you see that property values supposedly jumped by like 60% in just 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's the kind of number that makes you completely spit out your coffee.
Right. It's a wild headline. So today we are tearing into the April 2026 real estate data for Kingston, Massachusetts.
Specifically the 02364 zip code. Yeah.
Exactly. And our mission for this deep dive is to figure out if that massive jump is real or if the data is just, playing a massive trick on us.
Because if you just read those headlines, you'd think the market completely detached from reality over the course of a single month.
Which is why we have this absolute mountain of raw data on the table between us today to find the actual ground truth for you.
We aren't just looking at one source either.
No, definitely not. We're cross-referencing highly detailed property listings with the extensive realtors property resource.
Right, the RPR Market Trends Report.
Yeah, the RPR. And we are also looking at the MLS sales surveys.
Which is crucial.
And just so we are all on the same page, when we say MLS, we are talking about the multiple listing service.
Right.
That's the private database that real estate brokers use to share listings and record sales. So it's the unfiltered, raw data straight from the source.
And having all those different data streams is just non-negotiable right now. Real estate data can act like a funhouse mirror if you only view it from one angle.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, a single metric taken completely out of context can make you think the sky is falling.
Yeah.
Or that you're about to strike it rich.
So our mission today is to shatter that funhouse mirror. We are going to translate all these percentages, the raw numbers, and the honestly exhausting industry jargon.
There's so much jargon.
There really is. We're going to translate it into a crystal clear picture of what is actually happening on the ground in Kingston.
Exactly.
Like, is it a buyer's market? Are sellers holding all the cards? And if you have $1 million to spend right now, what does that actually buy you?
Right. Well, to get to the bottom of that 60% jump, we first need to establish the baseline temperature of the market.
Okay, so where do we start with that?
We have to look at the tension between inventory and demand. And the RPR report gives us a really brilliant metric for this, called months of inventory.
Right.
And right now, in Kingston, that number is sitting at a remarkably low 1.64 months.
Okay, I want to pause here because I want to make sure we really understand the gravity of that number.
Yeah, let's break it down.
When you say 1.64 months of inventory, you mean that if every seller in Kingston suddenly decided to, stop listing new homes today?
Not a single new house hits the market.
Right. The current pool of buyers would completely buy up every single available house in a little over 6 weeks, right? The shelves would be completely bare.
That is the exact mechanism, yes. It measures the pure absorption rate of the market.
Wow.
For context, the real estate industry generally considers a quote-unquote balanced market to be somewhere around 6 months of inventory.
6 months, and we're at 1.64.
Exactly. 6 months is that equilibrium point where buyers have a decent selection of homes to tour without rushing.
Right, you can actually sleep on it.
Right. And sellers have to price competitively but can still expect a fair sale. So at 1.64 months, Kingston isn't just a seller's market. It is a deep, highly aggressive seller's market.
Which is terrifying for buyers.
It really is. And what's alarming is the trend line. That 1.64 figure. That is a 50.46% drop from just the previous month.
Wait, inventory got cut in half in 1 month?
Yes, and it's a 21.5% drop from the same time last year. The inventory is literally evaporating.
Man, if you are listening to this and trying to buy a house, that 1.64 number is the reason you are losing sleep.
Without a doubt.
Having 1.64 months of inventory is like playing a high-stakes game of musical chairs where there are, say, 50 exhausted people circling, but only 16 chairs.
That is a very accurate visual.
When the music stops, it's not a polite negotiation. It's a scramble. People are going to dive for those seats.
And the data supports that analogy perfectly. Because when buyers are scrambling for chairs, the first thing they do is throw more money at the problem.
Oh, of course.
The RPR report tracks the sold-to-list price ratio, and for April, it hit 101.8%.
So they're paying over asking.
Right. That is an increase of nearly 2% from March alone. So buyers aren't just taking the chairs, they're actively bidding over the asking price right out of the gate just to ensure they don't get left standing.
Okay, so if buyers are practically fighting over these 16 chairs and bidding over the asking price, that bidding war has to be warping the final sale prices.
It completely distorts them.
Right. What is that doing to the data?
Yeah.
Because this leads us right back to that terrifying number I mentioned at the very top of the show.
Well, yes, the 60% jump.
Yeah.
This is where the price shock really sets in when you first open the RPR report.
I'm going to read this directly from the page because it still sounds completely made up to me.
Go for it.
The median sold price for Kingston in April 2026 sits at $750,500. And the report highlights that this represents a 59.43% month-over-month increase.
It's a staggering figure to look at.
I have to call a timeout here. Property values in a town do not actually increase by nearly 60% in 4 weeks.
No, they don't.
That just sounds like a statistical illusion. That doesn't happen outside of, I don't know, discovering oil under the town square. What is the math actually doing here?
You are entirely right to be skeptical, and I can reassure you and everyone listening that the underlying value of the dirt and lumber in Kingston did not suddenly skyrocket by 60% overnight.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah, the illusion happens because we have to carefully separate the median sold price from the estimated property value. They measure two very different things.
Hold on, so you're telling me the underlying value of the town is fine, it's just that the specific metric we are looking at is easily skewed.
Yes, exactly, because the median sold price only looks at the specific individual homes that happen to finalize their paperwork and close in the month of April. It ignores everything else. The estimated property value, however, looks at the entire ecosystem of homes in the 02364 zip code, whether they sold or not.
Ah, okay, so it's a much broader view.
Right. And if we look at the RPR's April 2026 median estimated property value, it's $723,550.
Okay.
And that broader number, it only saw a 0.1% increase from last month.
Wow, okay. That is vastly different.
Very different. And if you look over the last 12 months, it's seen a very stable, healthy 4% appreciation.
Okay, that makes the data look entirely different. A 4% annual growth rate is totally normal.
Completely normal.
So why did the sold median trigger that massive 59% alarm bell?
It really just comes down to a tiny sample size and the specific product mix.
What do you mean by product mix?
Well, only 6 properties actually made it to the closing table in April.
Just 6.
Just 6.
Yeah.
And by pure coincidence, the specific mix of those 6 homes happened to skew heavily toward the luxury end of the market.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, when your entire data pool is only 6 houses, all it takes is 1 or 2 massive estates to close in the same week, and it drags that median sold price way, way up.
Right. It's not so much a funnel of data. It's more like a conveyor belt. Like the active listings get loaded onto the start of the belt. The pending ones are slowly moving down the line as inspections and appraisals happen.
Yep.
And those 6 sold homes just happen to be the ones dropping off the end of the belt in April. And those 6 happen to be really heavy, expensive boxes.
That conveyor belt is the perfect way to look at it because we can actually see the volume moving down the line right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There is over $5.5 million in active volume currently sitting on the market.
Okay.
And there's almost $6 million sitting in pending status moving down the belt toward closing.
Got it.
And there was $5.2 million that actually dropped off the end of the belt as finalized sales in April.
So to really prove this point about how the specific mix of homes skews that median price, I think we need to take a look at what actually made up that $5.2 million.
I agree.
Let's take the listener on an audio tour of the actual properties that closed in Kingston last month so we can see what real money is buying right now.
Let's do it. We can start at the entry level of those April sales, like the most affordable home that dropped off the conveyor belt.
Okay, I have the list here. The entry-level marker for April was a property at 10 Pleasant Street.
Right.
It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath ranch. It's relatively compact at 1,025 square feet, and it closed for $515,000.
Which is a big number for a small house.
Yeah, I mean, $500,000 for 1,000 square feet and 1 bathroom sounds really steep at first glance.
It does, until you look at the underlying mechanism driving that price, which is condition.
Condition.
Yeah, this was not a fixer-upper.
Yeah.
The listing details reveal it was meticulously updated.
Oh, really?
We are talking about a fully renovated kitchen with high-end finishes, an island with a built-in beverage fridge,
Oh, nice.
gleaming hardwood floors throughout, and a fenced-in yard sitting on a quiet, dead-end street.
Which proves a huge point about buyer psychology right now.
What's that?
With interest rates where they are, buyers just do not have the extra cash lying around to renovate a kitchen after they move in.
Exactly. They are tapped out.
So a pristine, move-in ready home, even with a much smaller footprint, is going to command a massive premium. They are essentially paying for the convenience of just unpacking their boxes.
That's a crucial observation. Now let's step up to the middle tier of the April closings.
Okay, what do we have?
We have 208 Parting Ways Road. This is a much larger four-bedroom colonial, about 1,700 square feet, sitting on over a full acre of land.
Okay, pretty substantial.
And that one closed for $650,000.
Nice. And sitting right above it in that middle tier, we have 15 Bears Way.
Yes.
This was a 3-bedroom cape over near Silver Lake that sold for $785,000. But the listing notes on this one had a phrase that I absolutely love.
The untapped equity.
Yes. It highlighted a huge unfinished storage area over the garage, and the agent explicitly described it as untapped equity.
That phrase is a huge signal for smart buyers in a 1.64-month inventory market.
Why is that?
Because untapped equity means the framing is there, the roof is there, but the space just isn't livable yet.
Right.
So whoever bought that home can come in, throw up some drywall, run some electric, and immediately add livable square footage to the house.
Which forces the home's value up without having to pour a foundation or build an addition from scratch.
Exactly.
It's like finding a secret room in a video game that gives you a massive score boost.
That's a great way to put it.
But then we blow right past that middle tier and look at the high end. This is what broke the math and pulled that median sold price up 60%.
Yeah, let's talk about the big ones.
We have 63 Ring Road.
This property is in a different league entirely.
Yeah.
It is a massive 3,116 square foot custom colonial sitting behind gates on a very private lot of over 2 acres.
And it sold for $1,150,000.
Yep.
I looked at the photos for this one, and the amenities are wild. The primary suite has a spa-inspired bathroom with a walk-in steam shower.
Amazing.
There is a beautifully landscaped koi pond in the yard, and the heated garage actually has a professional car lift installed.
Wow. And right behind it in price, we also had a brand new build that sold in April.
Oh, Lot 14 on Charles Drive?
Exactly. This was a new construction 4-bedroom colonial that sold for $949,000.
That is a lot of house.
It is.
Looking at this whole list, what really stands out is just the whiplash of it all.
How do you mean?
Well, you have a $500,000 cozy ranch on a dead-end street with a beverage fridge, and then you've got a $1.15 million gated estate with a koi pond and a car lift.
Right.
And they all rode the exact same conveyor belt and closed in the exact same month in the exact same zip code.
It certainly highlights how incredibly diverse the Kingston housing stock is.
Yeah.
But, knowing what's sold only tells us half the story.
Okay, what's the other half?
The final piece of the puzzle is how fast that conveyor belt is actually moving. Which brings us right back to that competitive frenzy, the musical chairs we talked about.
Right. And here's where I really need you to help me reconcile something, because the data we are looking at has a massive discrepancy regarding the speed of the market.
Let's look at the discrepancy. Where are you seeing it?
Well, the numbers contradict each other on the surface. If I look at the RPR report, it claims the median time a home spends on the market is just 4 days.
4 days.
4 days. That is practically putting a for sale sign in the yard on Thursday and signing a contract on Monday morning.
Right.
But if I look at the MLS market survey for the pending listings, so the homes that successfully went under agreement in April, it shows an average of 44 days on the market, with an average of 31 days just to get a single offer. So if the median speed in RPR is 4 days, why does the MLS survey show homes taking an average of a month to get an offer?
It's confusing, right?
Yeah. Are buyers acting instantly, or are they taking their sweet time?
It is a phenomenal question, and honestly, it shows why averaging out an entire market hides the reality on the ground.
Okay, break it down for me.
The answer lies in breaking down those pending sales by their specific price brackets. The speed of the market right now is entirely dictated by the price tag.
Okay, let's break the brackets down then. Where is that crazy 4-day median coming from?
It's coming from the absolute sweet spot of the Kingston market. Homes priced in the $600,000 to $699,000 range and the $700,000 to $799,000 range.
The middle tier.
Exactly. The pending data shows that homes in the 600s are getting accepted offers in just 6 days. And homes in the 700s, they're getting offers in an astonishing 3 days.
Wow. So the middle of the market is an absolute breathless sprint.
It is.
If a house is $650,000 and in good shape, it is gone by Monday.
Gone.
But what about the other end of the average? Where are the slow homes coming from?
You have to look at the outliers. There was one pending home in the entry-level bracket, which is the $450,000 to $499,000 range.
Okay.
That single property took 65 days to get an offer.
Wait, really?
Yeah. And on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, the highest-end pending home, sitting in the $1.5 million plus bracket, sat on the market for 129 days before securing a buyer.
Let's dig into the why of that because it feels a little counterintuitive. Why does the cheapest house sit the longest?
It's a fair question.
Like, at under $500,000, shouldn't it be the easiest property to sell to a first-time buyer who just wants to get in the town?
You'd think so. But a house sitting in the 400s in this current environment usually means one thing. It needs significant structural or cosmetic work.
Oh, like it's a distressed property.
Most likely. The problem is, traditional first-time buyers relying on conventional or FHA loans, they often can't get financing approved if a home has a failing roof or, outdated electrical systems.
The bank just won't underwrite the loan.
Exactly. The bank says no.
So that eliminates almost all normal buyers.
Right. And that leaves cash buyers and investors who are notoriously picky and are looking for deep discounts. They will absolutely wait out a seller, which stretches that timeline to 65 days.
Okay, that makes total sense. And what about the luxury side?
On the flip side, the $1.5 million home taking 129 days is simply because the pool of buyers who can afford a multi-million-dollar mortgage at today's interest rates is incredibly small.
Yeah, that pool shrinks fast.
So when you average a 129-day listing with a 3-day listing, you get that 44-day average in the MLS. But the reality is completely bifurcated.
It is quite literally a tale of two entirely different markets happening on the exact same streets.
It really is.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? If you are sitting in your kitchen right now, you're scrolling through listings or talking to your partner about moving to Kingston, how do you actually apply this data?
The takeaway is highly actionable. If you were to shop in that hyper-competitive $600,000 to $800,000 middle tier, hesitation will cost you the house.
You can't wait.
No. You need to have your pre-approval letter in hand. You need to know exactly what compromises you're willing to make, and you need to be ready to write a strong offer in less than a week.
Because if you decide to, sleep on it until the open house on Sunday, the house will already be pending.
It'll be gone.
But if you are a luxury buyer with a massive budget...
Well, if you are shopping in the $1.5 million range, the leverage shifts back to you.
Right.
You don't have to play the frantic game of musical chairs. You actually have breathing room to take your time, negotiate terms, and be thoughtful, because those sellers are waiting months to find someone with your purchasing power.
That's a great point. And if we connect this back to the broader picture, in a market where inventory is choked down to 1.64 months, and prices in that middle tier are triggering bidding wars, buyers have to start thinking outside the box.
They absolutely do. And it goes back to that concept of untapped equity we discussed earlier.
Over on Bearse's Way.
Right. But look at another property that closed in April, 40 Standish Ave West, located in the Rocky Nook community.
Okay.
It sold for $675,000. Now, the listing specifically noted that it sat on what's considered a double lot in the Nook, and it explicitly mentioned the potential to expand or add on to the property.
What does a double lot actually mean for a buyer in practical terms? How does that create value?
It comes down to local zoning laws. If a town requires, say, a quarter of an acre to build a home, and you buy a property that sits on a full half acre,
Oh, I see.
you technically have two buildable lots. You might be able to subdivide the land and sell the empty lot, or you have the legally permitted space to build a massive addition, or even an accessory dwelling unit, an ADU for rental income or family.
Wow. So in an aggressive seller's market, fighting in a brutal bidding war for a perfectly finished, HGTV-ready house might actually be a trap.
It can be exhausting and incredibly expensive. The smarter play for a buyer might be looking for homes with unfinished spaces, like that raw room over the garage, or looking for double lots where you have the legal room to expand, like the Rocky Nook property.
So you bypass the absolute worst of the turnkey bidding wars, you secure your location, and you basically manufacture the equity yourself over time.
That's exactly how you win in a 1.64-month market.
That is a phenomenal piece of insight to end on. Bypass the war and build the value yourself.
Look for the untapped equity.
Exactly. Well, thank you for walking us through this incredible stack of data today and making sense of the conveyor belt that is the Kingston market.
It was a pleasure unpacking it all with you.
If you have any questions about this episode, or if you are thinking about buying or selling a house anywhere on Boston's South Shore from Southie to Sagamore, give Jim Aldred a call. He would love to speak with you. Jim believes that people in transition often feel anxious about buying or selling a home, and he provides them with the guidance and security to help your family move on smoothly. Thanks for listening, and catch you on the next episode of the Pink Door Podcast.